In today's video, we're looking at the pivot table in Microsoft Excel. Now, as your data becomes larger in your spreadsheet, the use of the functions such as the if function and, for example, VLOOKUP in Excel, it becomes a little bit challenging to use those built-in tools to analyze your data. So in Microsoft Excel, we have the pivot table, and it allows us to summarize and reorganize our data easily than in comparison to, say, using the if function or the VLOOKUP. Now, the first thing we need to do, we need to establish the requirements for the pivot table. So first, you must have a tabular data, meaning you must have columns and rows, and you must have column titles for the different columns, right? So the next requirement for the pivot table is that there are no empty rows or empty columns should exist in the table, right? And also any column that has just a small bit of information, for example, the smallest hotel under the notes column is not suited for the pivot table. Likewise, here we have another example. Here we have the total, and we only have the label total and the actual total in this row, right? And another requirement is if you have cells that are merged, you'd have to unmerge them, right? And what I mean by that, here we have the title here, for example, for the table, hotel guest table. And if you click on it, you can see that it spans from the table, it spans from cells A1 through I1. So this would be a merge and center table title. So what you'll have to do is, for example, is click on it so that it returns to its original position there, right? But what we'd have to do, I'll show you how we're going to clean up the spreadsheet in a little while, right? Now, so I'm going to type another country here or another location. I'm gonna put Texas, Texas here, and I'm just gonna put one bit of information right here, right? So I'll put that there. All right, so what we're saying is we want to eliminate the empty cells that you would have there, right? It's not best suited for the pivot table. So what I would do, if this was the original table, I have to try and get rid of this and get rid of this label, right? So that the pivot table can sort the table accordingly, right? Now, so it must not, the table must not have any um blank rows or blank columns. So what we're going to do, we're going to get rid of that, right? So I'm going to right click and delete, and there we got rid of that row. All right, we're going to come here now, I'm going to right click and we're going to delete this column here, right? And also remember I told you that we don't want this any small bits of information here. So what we'll have to do is come here, right click, delete to get rid of that. And let me show you what I mean. I'm gonna go up to the to 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 use a pivot table. How you use it, how we access it. We go up to insert tab on the ribbon, then we click on pivot table, right? Now let me the first thing you need to do is click on a cell in the table that you want to apply the pivot table to, right? To create the pivot table. Or we could click here and select our data range, right? We're going to close this for the time being. All right, I'm going to show you. So what we will do is click here, right? Then we'll go to insert and we can choose a pivot table to make it from scratch, or we can use the recommended pivot tables, right? I'm going to click on it and show you the recommended pivot table. Now, here it is saying that we cannot recommend any pivot tables for the selected data because there are too many blank cells or duplicate values or not enough numerical numerical columns, right? So this is what I was telling you. These small bits of information that is there, we'll have to delete it to use our pivot table, right? So I'm going to come here, right click, delete, and clean up that bit of information. And then when I click on a cell that is in the data range, I can come now and gonna go insert recommended pivot tables. And here now we can see that the software was able to generate some um, pivot table uh, examples, right? But we are going to do our pivot table from scratch. So we're going to come here and click pivot table, right? Now here it has selected our range because we clicked on a cell within our table range. If you wanted to choose the table range, the table or the range, you would click here and then you would select the range of cells like this, right? Then we click here, right? And we want it on a new worksheet. If you want it on the same existing worksheet, you would click here, but we want it on a new worksheet, and then we click OK. All right. So here now, this is our um, this is where we're going to create our pivot table now, right? We're going to build a report using different fields from the pivot table field list. So here are the pivot table fields, and these are the same column titles that we had on sheet one. So here's sheet one, right? There it is. So those right. So what we're gonna do now, we're going to click one hotel location. Or before we go there, we're gonna go back to the table. Now, what we wanna do, we want to summarize this table and present the information for this table here. So how can we summarize this table so that it, it represents the main component? So hotel location would be one of them, right? Then the hotel accommodation, right? And we want to know what is the percentage cancel reservations, right? So what we're gonna do now, so I want to see columns B, A, and B as a summary, right? So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna come to sheet 2, which is our pivot table, right? So we want the hotel location, put it in the rows here, and there it is, right? Then we want the number of guests. I'm gonna put this here, good. Then we want the percentage for today's video, the percentage cancellation of the reservation, right? And this is how we would summarize our table from this original table here, right? And then now what we can do, we can copy this information and put it in a Word document, right? So I'm gonna come here now. I'm gonna go to Word, right? So what we're gonna do now, we're going to write in Word, this is a summary of the hotel guest for the different locations. All right, so what I'm gonna do, I'm going to center this, right? And what I want, all right, so what we're gonna do, we have our Word document here, and we have typed up the label. This is a summary of the hotel guest for the different locations. What we wanna do, we wanna copy this summary that we made using the pivot table. So we're going to come here now, and we're gonna select our information here. We're going to copy, then we're going to go to the Microsoft Word document, and here now we're going to paste, and here is our table that shows the summary of the different um, number of cancellations in terms of the percentage, right? So what we can do, the Australia is spelled wrong here, so let us fix it. Australia. All right. I'm gonna all right. Now the Trinidad and Tobago, we want to go back to our table, and we want to adjust the column width, right? So I'm gonna come here, I'm gonna press escape on the keyboard. I'm gonna right click, gonna widen this out. All right, so we're gonna come again. Going to select this information here using the mouse. Then we're going to copy. Then we're going to go to our table here. Going to remove this one. Right click, delete table. All right. So we're going to come now. I'm going to paste here. And here is our table that summarizes our hotel guest. And if you want to center it, we'd press this. You want to move it, can move it accordingly. So this is how you would use a pivot table tool in Microsoft Excel to summarize a table which was shown at the start of today's video. So in the next video, we're going to show you how to set the column margins to inches. So we're looking forward to seeing you in that video. Please take care until then. Bye.
Thanks for watching the video, and don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, like, comment, and share.